Hi guys, it's Phoebe from Who's Phoebe and welcome back to another Doctor Who video, and today is the very last season 14 review, Empire of Death. What can I say about this episode? This episode does have some negatives in it, unfortunately. I liked this episode. The conclusion was really interesting, especially this whole mystery evolving around Ruby, which is indeed really interesting. However, I felt like it wrapped up too soon. But we're going to get on to the good bit. So this continues from last week, The Legend of Ruby Sunday, and the Doctor has to deal with Sutekh, and there were some really good uses of the Remembered TARDIS in this episode, which I really did like, because we've seen the Remembered TARDIS in Tales of the TARDIS with the 5th Doctor and Tegan. I could go on. And the Doctor and Ruby were recently in it in a special episode of Tales of the TARDIS, The Pyramids of Mars, you know, where the Doctor talks about fighting Sutekh for the first time. It turns out he didn't actually destroy Sutekh, because when the Doctor banished him to the time vortex, he clung onto the TARDIS, which makes the fact that Sutekh has been with the 4th Doctor for the rest of his travels. He's been with the 5th Doctor throughout the entirety of the 5th Doctor's era, so basically from Castrovalva to when Tegan was possessed by the Mara and all of that. He's also been with the 6th Doctor, the 7th and the 8th. Also was in the Time War most likely as well. Was with the 9th Doctor, was with the 10th Doctor with Rose, Martha and Donna. Has been with the 11th Doctor, the entirety of the 11th Doctor's era. Also the 12th and 13th Doctors as well, and also the 14th Doctor. So it does explain that groaning noise in Wildly Yonder. So yeah, the Sutekh has been with not every single Doctor, because if you remember, this happened during the 4th Doctor's era. So he hasn't been with the first 3 Doctors. That's where he hasn't been. That's the Doctors he hasn't been with. He's only been with the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th and 14th Doctors, and 15 as well, which is really interesting to know that. Also the fact that Sutekh chose now to come back is an intriguing way to go with this. It's shocking because you didn't expect Sutekh to be surrounding the Doctor in this way. It's not a normal thing you would think, is it? It's not something you grab onto. It's not a normal thing that normally happens. And this is interesting because it explains the TARDIS is groaning all the time. I feel like, though, I don't know how the TARDIS didn't sniff out Sutekh straight away. Like, I don't know how Sutekh went undetected for so long. I felt like surely the Doctor would have detected it, or at least the TARDIS would have detected the God of Death in the TARDIS at some point. So that is really, really sort of beyond me to why Sutekh hadn't been sniffed out sooner, if that makes sense. It's a weird thing. But what I did like about this episode is you had the Remembered TARDIS, bits of previous TARDIS console rooms. There's elements of 5th in there, 10, 11s, I could go on, but I'm not going to, in there. And the fact that Sutekh's got the Doctor's current TARDIS, he has to use the Remembered TARDIS that landed in 2004 when Ruby was on Ruby Road. Like, he uses that TARDIS to get around. Then the episode went off into a bit of a tangent in the middle of it, with the Doctor and this woman meeting and the doctor talking about a spoon. Okay, what was even the point of that conversation? There was no point to that conversation. What the hell was that all about? That lost me. That bit lost me in the middle there. That completely lost me. I had no idea. That just lost me. However, what I did like is sort of, you see clips of the pyramids of Mars on this screen that the doctor was using, and then it was answering to Ruby, which I think is incredibly interesting. And things have come together, and Ruby sort of sees these things from her alternative timeline in 73 yards, which is incredibly interesting. Sutekh has been obviously manipulating her future. So with this woman he created, Susan Triad, it's interesting that way. I don't really know what to say about this episode. This was very mixed. This probably wasn't the greatest Doctor Who final I've ever seen. Mostly because, like, this episode ended too quickly for my liking. I feel like once it got to the 40-minute mark, it was sort of rushing through the ending, where you get the Doctor and Ruby back in unit with Mel, well, with the dead version of Mel, and then you get the Doctor pulling this rope, attaching him to the top, pulling Sutekh with this rope, the Doctor and Ruby, attaching Sutekh to the TARDIS and flying off into the vortex, and then simple solution, Sutekh brings death, so the vortex is going to bring life. So with Sutekh in the vortex, it brings life and then destroys Sutekh in the process. So I feel like that's why I didn't really enjoy that part, because it ended way too quickly. That was literally the obvious solution from the start. The whistle bit was interesting, when the Doctor had that whistle and was blowing it, and the TARDIS sort of shot one of the Harbingers, and then the TARDIS was brought back to the Doctor. That was interesting. But over the last 7 weeks, we've had this massive build-up to One of the Gods. The build-up was great, but the climax of the episode and how fast it was resolved doesn't sit right with me. I mean, literally, the solution that was given in this episode around the 40-minute mark was drag Sutekh to the TARDIS, attach him to it, travel into the Zion time vortex, make him bring life back, disattach him, and kill him in the vortex. That felt too like you could see that coming moment. I definitely saw that coming. The moment the Doctor got the rope, the moment Ruby got the rope out and the anti-gravity gloves on the Doctor, I knew that was going to end too soon. I kind of had a feeling that's how it would end. I mean, this episode isn't bad. I mean, you had some really good bits. You still have the mystery about who is Ruby's mother, which obviously played a massive part in this episode. But I thought the mystery of Ruby was going to be a little bit more mysterious than what we got. I mean, seriously, I was expecting her to be like an alien of some kind. I was expecting it to be a much more bigger than just her being plain old human. You know, I just thought it was a bit sort of like, hang on a sec, so the last 7 episodes have been building up to this, and you're telling me that Ruby is not significant to this story whatsoever. She's just the Doctor's companion who was abandoned on a church road in 2004 by her 15-year-old mother, who is human, and this had no significance in the story whatsoever. I still can't believe that. So, towards the end of the episode, Sutekh has been destroyed, Kate's back. I'm not going to point off for this for killing Kate off, and Mel, I'm knocking 2 points off for that, by the way. So this will probably get like a, because I'm knocking 2 points off, this is going to get a low score today. I don't appreciate you doing that. But you get this bit where Unit do the DNA match on Ruby, you know, to confirm her mother, and it turns out her mother was a 15-year-old child who was pregnant, but she hid the pregnancy from her stepfather, and she gave birth to Ruby and left her on a church doorstep. Her mother is called Louise Allison Miller, and she was 15 when she gave birth to Ruby. And then you get this little really sweet scene. I can relate a lot to Ruby given the fact that I'm adopted, but unlike Ruby, I kind of knew who my birth family were straight, you know, the second my parents told me. But I come from, my situation's entirely different. I might talk about it on YouTube someday. But I could also relate to her a lot because you get this moment in the coffee shop where Ruby orders a cappuccino and her mother, her real mum, is sat opposite almost. And then you get the guy calling out coffee for Ruby, and suddenly her birth mother looks up and they embrace in this hug that they found each other finally, which is interesting. I loved that scene. That was so like emotional in a weird way. It felt right to have that scene at the end of that episode, like, you know. But I felt like when they have that moment in Cherry's flat and they're talking to Louise and Ruby has explained all about the Doctor and travelling the universe with him, she goes into the TARDIS and you can tell immediately that she's going to leave the Doctor out of her own choice, because her adventure begins here, as the Doctor said. He quoted, "Honey, your adventure begins here," because she wants to get to know her real mum. Carla is her mum, but Ruby wants to get to know Louise. And I'm the same. I like to get to know my birth family, it's fine. But yeah. So like, you have that moment where Ruby finds out that her dad wants to get in touch with her. Her real dad wants to get in touch with her. And the Doctor can see that the only way to let Ruby do this is by letting her go. And you can see he's upset by this decision, but he understands why Ruby's got to do it. He understands why Ruby's got an entire family to get to know, which is really sweet. And then Ruby turns around before leaving, going, "I love you." And then there is that moment in the flat where Louise comes and puts her arm around Ruby's shoulder, and Cherry and Carla and Ruby and Louise, they watch the TARDIS dematerialise. They watch it go off into the vortex, and it's so sweet, that little moment the four of them have together. And I liked Mrs. Flood in this episode hugging Cherry as the world was ending. I liked it. It was great. So yeah. Overall, I'd give this episode a 7 out of 10. I was going to give it 10 out of 10, but because they killed off Cat and Mel, it gets 2 points knocked off for that. Also, the climax of this episode was a bit sort of like the 40-minute mark, sort of, you know, it ended way too soon. It was a bit obvious how they were going to end this thing, so, you know. All in all, I really did enjoy this episode. It was a great final. I would definitely watch this again and rewatch this whole series. The next review I do for season 14 special will be the Christmas special for this year. I'll be back in my old room for that, so that'll be interesting. So I'm going to Mum and Dad's for Christmas, so, you know, I'll be back. I'll be filming that out theirs. But yeah, so I did enjoy this episode, and if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up if you did, and also put notifications first, get notifications every single time I upload. But I will be back again next week with different videos. This time I'm going back to my classic reviews again, so I will obviously still be uploading weekly. Don't worry, I haven't stopped doing YouTube after these videos. I will still be carrying on doing my videos like as I promised. I will be doing a season 14 roundup at some point in the next couple of days, potentially next week as well. I'll be doing that then. You know, sort of rounding up what I liked about this series and what we're hoping to see in series 15 and all of this. So yeah, I'm still going to be doing videos. Don't worry guys, I'm not stopping, except they won't be season 14 reviews, as you know, this is the last one of this particular review, but I will be obviously doing more reviews for the classic series as well, because you guys seem to really enjoy those. I'll finish off where I left off, which was the Sea Devils, which I did at Christmas, so I'll carry on with the Third Doctor for now and then move on to the fourth and so on. So yeah, the videos are not ending. I've got some great videos planned in the next couple of weeks before I go on holiday. I'm going to Cornwall this year in September with my house, because it's the house share I do. So yeah, I'm going to Cornwall in September, so I'm going to make sure I get you guys a bunch of videos before I go on my holiday, before I go on my hollybobs. So yeah, I'll make sure I film a bunch of videos for you guys before I go away. And then when I start college as well, I'll make sure I've got a back catalogue of a bunch of videos before I start college as well. So yeah, if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up if you did, and make sure you click that red subscribe button down below, and also click the notification bell to get notifications every single time I upload. Just a quick thing before I end this video: when I do start college, the videos will be sort of less, but I will try and get as many filmed as I can throughout the time I'm at college. Even if I have to film on my days off at college and still upload on Tuesdays, or film on a Friday night when I get back, or film on a Friday night and make sure to have all of those videos ready for you. But I will try my best. No promises though. But yeah. Allons-y!